The other day I tweeted that strict linter settings can hinder refactoring. I wanted to show a demo of what that can involve. So here we have a very simple map function that we're calling in JavaScript. We've got an arrow function we're passing into it, and we've got a linter warning here. I'm using Airbnb's base ESlint settings. Let's see what it says. Expected parentheses around arrow functions argument having a body with curly braces. So this is a linter rule that says that we need to add parentheses around this argument. So let's do that real quick to silence the linter. Now we're getting another warning. Unexpected block statement surrounding arrow body. So now we need to not have a block statement. Since we're just returning a value, we need to change it into an expression. And we can remove the return statement as well. Oh, but now we've got another warning. What is this? Now we've got unexpected parentheses around a single function argument having a body with no curly braces. So we followed the linter rules one at a time, but now it's caused a contradiction where we need to change back something we already had in place. All right, well, this is hard to do. It's kind of annoying, but let's just get it done. Now we're all set. And the strict linter settings can be nice. They can get your code nice and consistent. Maybe once you memorize this approach, this format, it might come pretty naturally. So let's say, though, we want to make some changes here. We decide that, hey, we actually weren't so sure if this is the value we want to return. We're not sure what values are being passed in here, and so we want a console log out. So, of course, that's not going to work because we have not a block here, but an expression being sent instead. So we need to change this back to a block. And as a result, we're also going to need to add a curly there and add a return statement there. So let's see what else is wrong. Unexpected console statement. So that's another thing in passing. Like, yes, in production we don't want console statements, but for troubleshooting purposes, it would be nice to have them in there. Now it's fine to be warned about them to make sure we don't lose them in our build and commit them to Git accidentally. But if our tests or our production app won't run if there are any ESlint errors, then that can prevent us from actually running with a console statement in there or some of these other statements. So it's best to be able to, if you are going to have strict ESlint settings, to have them not block your tests or your local development running of the application. All right, let's go on with the other changes. We expected parentheses around an arrow function argument having a body with curly. So because we've changed this body to have curlies, we need to add the parens again. And so now we're set. We're good to go. So then, though, when we decide, okay, we finished what we need to do, we need to remove that console log statement because we're told to remove it. When we remove it there, all of a sudden we're going to get the same set of warnings again, and we're going to have to totally change the syntax we use for this arrow function for the sake of this. So this is where strict linter settings can become problematic. Like, yes, you do want to have your code consistent and as simple as possible, but if it prevents you from putting in like console log statements to experiment, that can be problematic. So let's show another example of this. Let's say we follow the linter. Let's switch back to just having an expression returned here. And say, okay, 2 times values being returned. But say we want to include the index in this calculation as well. So we add index here. And of course, syntactically, we're going to have to add the parentheses around 2 arguments. That's not a linter thing. That's just a requirement of JavaScript syntax. So we just add index into the calculation. So that's great. But maybe we say that we're not so sure if we want index to be added in. We want to remove it to C, so we temporarily remove it. We could even comment it out if we wanted to. And say we're planning on putting it back in, we just want to see the difference this makes to not include it in the calculation. Well, we're already getting an error that index is defined but never used, and so we say, okay, we got to comment that out as well. We've got to get there's an expected space or tab before the // in the comment, so we have to make sure we get our comment exactly right. And now what? Unexpected parentheses. Oh yeah, and we got another space that I was missing. I didn't even realize in the comment. And now with the unexpected parentheses, we need to remove these parentheses just for the sake of troubleshooting. So maybe that goes in there, and maybe we have another comment here with the opening parentheses. So it runs, we're able to check our calculation, and then we say, all right, we've debugged that, we want to put index back in. And so now, of course, we need to undo all this commenting and get the white space just right. And just removing the comment characters and there's not enough, of course, we have to get the spacing just right as well. So really, strict ESlint settings are meant for production code to be as consistent as possible, but they can hinder your refactoring. If they stop you from actually running the test or running the dev server, then that's problematic because you can't even run the code until you get the code formatting just right. And even if you don't have that to be the case, if we go back here and we see all the linter errors that come up, it's very distracting. It prevents you from seeing actual problems and syntax errors in the code. And you might get to the point where you just ignore these red squigglies if they're not usually providing value. And so this is why I would recommend looser linter settings to be able to allow changes like this. I've created my own linter settings called ESlint config coding it wrong. This is an especially ironic use of my name. And you can try those out if you want. I'm planning on enhancing those over time to make them provide a consistent coding style, but also allow for experimentation and refactoring like this. So check them out. There's going to be a link in the video description. Thanks for looking, and think about the way your ESlint settings affect how you code. See if they're slowing you down. You may not feel the pain of this happening, but think about whether you are being prevented from experimenting with your code as easily as you would otherwise because of ESlint rules.